that I remember vividly, we were coming off of a patrol from the Two-Cow Bridge, and he come running up to me and he's tapping me on the shoulder. Puff, Puff, here, put your hand here on your neck. It seems as though some mosquito that was a VC attacked my jugular vein, and I'm there spraying some blood out. That happened to be Doc Runquist. Stand up, yeah. The next guy I'm going to introduce is a guy that doesn't like choppers because he jumps out of them. Martin Peterson. And where's our first corpsman? Right up here. Right here. Doc Goldstein. Okay, we're missing somebody. Where are you at? Where is it?
I think it's Brodsky. If he doesn't,
No.
I'm going to.
Well, let's go here.
Oh, there he is, Doc Burchell, hiding again. Get up, Doc, 1968. These were our lifesavers, very much so. I mean, boy, these hearing aids around here are really kicking. Wow. Getting the feedback. Come on, guys, turn them down or something. Gee. But anyway, I don't think any of us Marines would have survived without their constant supervision, watching for our safety and our health. I love them all. I didn't start with them all. I started with those two, Runquist and Peterson. Doc was before my time, and Burchell was after. So. This is wow. All right, thanks, guys.
I got it. Oh, you got it?
I'd like to add one thing. After our loved and revered corpsmen, believe me, they are. They get out there and they get in the mud and the dirt. And it's a very dangerous job. I was a platoon leader, and it was my job when a Marine got hit and he went down. The first thing these corpsmen do is they want to run right out there. But you got to remember, that man who got hit is in somebody's rifle sights or somebody's throwing range of a grenade, and they're going to be a target right next to the casualty. So my job, most of the time, was to try to hold them back and put down a base of fire and then let them go out there. But I can tell you, it was a hard job to do. I mean, they were like racehorses getting ready to start the race. And I've never seen one hesitate or refuse to go out. They are among the bravest of the brave. We love them. They are, I can't even consider them as Navy people. They are Marines. I would like to add one person to the list here. After these corpsmen go out and do their magic in the field, patching up the wound, stopping the bleeding, restoring breathing, and whatever else they do to minimize the chances that you may not make it, then they're taken back to the rear, and many times our battalion surgeon, who was for 3-1 battalion surgeon, I'd like to introduce him, Dr. Claude Deschazeau. We're going to have a short speaking program, at least I hope it's short. The first speaker is a good friend of mine. We both live in Southern California. He was my company commander when I first joined my company in November of 1965. And little did I think at that time when I stepped out there my first formation and he was at the head, that we'd be here doing this today. But anyway, he was a great CO, a great Marine, and he's a great friend. And I'd like to introduce Major Charles W. Lanning, United States Marine Corps.
Thanks, Jim. And just remember, it's 2 up, 1 back, take the high ground, and feed them hot chow. I'm going to introduce our speaker for tonight, and it is an incredible pleasure for me because we connected this week after walking out of the rice paddies in 1966. So that's a long time to not see anybody or spend a lot of time with somebody, but at the same time, when we saw each other, we knew everything about each other without even saying a word. So it's a real pleasure. Our speaker tonight is going to be Colonel Jim Seehoster, and I can't say James T. I have to say Jim. Those that were in 65 and 66 remember one thing about me as a company commander is that the rest of the battalion, other than Lima Company, had almost 20% heat exhaustion, heat prostration cases. My company had 0. The reason they had 0 because our gunny said, even going to Vietnam on the Peter Rabbit, the USS Paul Revere, that this was the first time, he'd been across the ocean 5 times, this is the first time he ran all the way. Our company was in incredible shape. That, to me, being in good physical shape was more important than knowing really a lot of tactics, because being physical is what will bring you home. Lima Company was certainly as physical as we were. Right before Operation Utah, Jim had the great misfortune to get some white phosphorus in his eyes, so he had to spend a month in the hospital, and he missed Operation Utah, Texas, and 1 or 2 others. But the time we spent training in both Southern California at Pendleton and at Camp Schwab in Okinawa, it was an incredible time of my life. And certainly, I had a feeling that I was doing the right thing because he was doing the same thing. I want to take a few minutes, and I want you to listen to this because there's a lot of stuff when I talk about his background, but I think it's important for us as now civilians, those of us who are I don't know, older than the first commandant, we tend to forget how much training and how important our senior officers are to us. So I'm going to take enough time to tell you what he's done, where he's been in the Marine Corps. First of all, Jim was a PLC from 1957 to 1959. He attended Seton Hall University, or maybe it was a college then, but as a runner. He was a runner, so I had a hard time keeping up with him, but after a little while, he had a hard time keeping up with me. Anyway, he went to the Marine Corps Basic School, which we all do, in 1960. He went from there to a Nuclear Weapons Employment Course, 61. Military Justice School in 61, he needed that. Embarkation School, 1963. Marine Corps Amphibious Warfare School, 1967. DoD Computer Institute, 1967. Marine Corps Command and Staff College, 1977. Navy War College in 1980. He's a slow learner, but he is very well trained. Let's talk about his assignments for just a minute. He was a platoon commander out of basic school in 3-7 in 1961. He was a company commander and an XO in 2-5 in 1962. combat cargo officer on the USS Skagit in 1963. And as we were going to Vietnam, he never let me forget how much he knew about loading a ship. He was company commander with 3-1, 65, and 66. Spectacular company commander, so listen closely when he speaks. He was the aide-de-camp to General Fields, commanding general of 1st Marine Division in 1967. He was the Operations Staff Plans Officer for the U.S. Strike Command, J3 for the U.S. Strike Command, Battalion S3, XO of 35, 1970-71, Executive Officer Marine Barracks, Panama Canal Zone, 71-72, Commanding Officer Marine Corps Recruit Station, Nashville, Tennessee, 1972 through 76. That's where you really learn to be a person, being in Tennessee. I happen to be in Tennessee. Operations Staff Officer G3 FMF Lant, 1977-79. Operations Strategic Plans Office, J3, in Stuttgart, Germany from 1980 to 83. Deputy Director of Manpower Recruiting, Headquarters Marine Corps, 1983 to 1986. Chief of Staff, 3rd Marine Division, Okinawa, Japan, 86 and 87. And then Commanding Officer, Tulane University, NROTC Unit, 1987 to 1990. That's quite a tour of duty. So when Jim speaks, I listen. He doesn't know I'm listening, but I really am. I'm probably cracking jokes as I always do, but I am listening to him when he speaks. Awards. He got Self-Defense Superior Service Medal, Legion of Merit, Bronze Star with a Combat V, Defense Meritorious Service Medal, Joint Services Commendation Medal, Navy Commendation Medal, National Defense Medal, Vietnamese Service Medal with 5 stars, Republic of Lebanon, Order of the Cedar with Rosette, Vietnamese Campaign Medal. Now, during this time, he's a very personable guy, very persuasive, and while he was recruiting, he decided to recruit this young Marine officer. Gail, would you stand up? This is Jim's wife, Gail. Gail was a Marine officer. Although junior to Jim, he still salutes her all the time. He's smart. He now resides in New Orleans, Louisiana. He has 2 adult daughters and 2 grandsons that he's very proud of, which I don't blame him. Jim in Vietnam, as we entered in 1965, I would have to say was my closest friend. We were counterparts. He had Lima Company. He was, as we called it in my company, he was the head lizard. And we had my company. No matter where we went, they followed us. Everywhere. You just turn around and my company, Lima Company, would be right there behind you. That's probably not true. Last thing I want to say is I'd like to introduce my wife, Rhoda, who has been with me for the last 57 years, 56 years, 57 years. I think every sickness, and I'm sure you wives are this way, every sickness my children ever had, I was deployed at that time. That's just the way it works. Anyway, it's with extreme pleasure that I introduce really my best friend in the Marine Corps, Colonel Jim Seeholster.
Thank you, Chuck. I think first, on behalf of all of us, it's only appropriate that I say, Jim LaFleur, well, thank you for putting together such a wonderful. As Chuck said, he and I led the battalion into Vietnam. It was probably the greatest honor I ever had to lead a bunch of young Marines in. But what made it so significant for me was what Chuck alluded to. The time that we were together, we got to know one another so that there was no question that if I said something, he completely understood it, or if he were to say something, I completely understood what he wanted. And the training just developed that all along, which I think to some extent we're losing today because we don't train as a unit before deployment, unfortunately. And the best example of this I could give of that I could think of was shortly after we landed, and we were headed out towards Stampede. And of course, all religious buildings are supposedly off limits. And I was on the right, Chuck was on the left, and they got pinned down, and 2 words came over the radio from Chuck to me, the pagoda. I was in a position that, fortunately, I had a section of guns with me, machine guns, and I could lay some barrage down for him, and I needed no more than those 2 words. The pagoda was gone. And it's that sort of thing that I think makes our Marine Corps what it is. It's just unbelievable. Unfortunately, the rest of what I'm going to say is not particularly happy stuff. I'm very concerned about where the Marine Corps is going. We have had a lot of changes occur, and historically, the Corps has been challenged, and I don't know how many know, but in 1947, we were a pen stroke away from being done away with. President Truman had the National Security Act in front of him, and it did not include the Marine Corps. Fortunately, some people stopped him from signing it. The Marine Corps was included, and he went ahead and signed that. But just because we're in the National Security Act, think about what's going on today, and this is what scares me. Sequestration to start with. We're going down to 165,000. 165,000. What can we do? I don't know. All the political correctness that's going on. Is it right for us? I'm not so sure. I guess the message I really want to give is the Marine Corps that you and I knew, the one that we are here celebrating, those that we honored yesterday with the honor roll of those who died, need us to pay attention to what's happening and not allow anybody to test whether we're going to have a Marine Corps tomorrow or not. The second half sequestration goes into October, and who knows what's going to happen with that. It scares me to death. It really does. To have spent 33 years in the Corps and see the possibility of us being brought down to a level that, should we exist or not in our minds, but in Congress, where unfortunately very, very few people have any military experience. I think the reason I'm saying this is I think we all need to pay attention, watch what's going on in Washington, be alert, and don't let it happen, because it can happen in a heartbeat. Just like 1947, and Harry Truman signed the initial Security Act, we wouldn't be. I don't know anything that's any more emotional to me than what Chuck talked about. My company is having a reunion in St. Louis right now. The reason I'm here is because I checked the roster of who was going to be there, and none of my officers and none of my men were there. And I knew of this, and I wanted to be with people that I served with. And this is the first reunion of any type I've ever been to, and that's why I'm as emotional as I am. This is just too much.
Thank you, Colonel. I'm concerned about our Marine Corps.
What do we do?
Beg your pardon?
What do we do?
We all vote.
You vote. Write your congressman.
I took out my hearing aid, so. It's just me and this little.
Was her question, what should we do?
Yes.
Pay attention to what Washington's doing. Go online, contact all of your congresspersons, and tell them you are concerned about the Marine Corps. The money has got to be allocated with the sequestration as it is. The Defense Department's going to bite the bullet big time. So let your congressman know that you are watching,
Okay,
and that'll get their attention.
thank you. Yeah.
And in 1965, Jim could hear people whisper.
The Army for years and years and years has tried to incorporate us into what they called their amphibious branch. Never happened in my lifetime, I hope not. Anyway, the next event in our speakers program is a first. Okay, I've been to almost every reunion since 1993, and this is the first time we've ever done something like this. About 6 months ago, a couple of our Marine brothers called me and asked me to help them with a certain project they had going. I'm not going to say anything about it. I'm going to let them do the talking here. Anyway, that's enough suspense. I'm going to introduce you to Captain William Wood, who was the Mike Company commander in 1966 and 1967, and Dave Cowboy Gustafson, who was with Mike 3-1 in 1967 and 1968. They are the two honchos on this project that they're going to tell you about. Captain Wood, Cowboy, podium is yours.
Which is which?
Which is which? Give it a hat, cowboy.
I'm cowboy.
Which one is Cowboy?
I don't know where that's been. I heard the colonel talk about reunions. I got to tell you one quick story. My uncle fought with the Army in World War II. And he was assigned to the India-Burma theater. So he came home and he went to one of his first reunions and he liked it, so he went back and back. And a company reunion. So his last one, he was in his 80s. And I wrote him a note and I said, Uncle Bob, how was that reunion? Bill, it was great. He said, out of the 100, 25 were deceased, 25 we couldn't locate, 25 couldn't make it, but 25 showed up. Same old faces and all new teeth. Here I can say same old faces and all new ears. We talk about the Marine Corps as it used to be. I'm sure many of you remember First Sergeant Price.
Amen.
One of my favorites, if not my most favorite. And he was First Sergeant of my company during my tour there. Never would have made it without him. And the rumor got out in the 70s when the Marine Corps had some problems. The prestige of the first sergeants in the Marine Corps was supposed to be going downhill. They were losing their image, of being the top sergeant. Well, it so happened the Commandant of the Marine Corps calls Quantico schools and he said, I'm coming out to inspect the barracks. The Colonel picks them. So the Colonel called First Sergeant and said, Commandant's going to be out Saturday morning and inspect your barracks. So make sure it's dip hot. Friday evening, of course, is field day, which means they clean up everything. He gets all the troops out and they get this thing shining. Saturday morning, gets them up early, so they're ready to go. And he puts PFC Jones out by the curb. He said, you let me know when the Commandant's car's coming around the corner, because we got to get ready. As First Sergeant, I will. Every 5 minutes, the window goes up. You seen it, Jones? You seen it? No, First Sergeant, no. 10 times, window goes up. Finally, around the corner comes a big green limo with the 4 stars on it. Jones looks at it. 4-star Jones gets out of the car.
He says, excuse me, are you the Commandant of the Marine Corps? Yes, I am, Private. How are you? He said, fine, you better get your ass inside. First Sergeant waiting for you all morning. You all might have heard that one. It's one of my favorites. But that's all I got to say. I just want to tell you it was a privilege, and I now have the privilege of introducing the cowboy, Dave Guthrie.
I guess they wanted me to come up and explain why Tank McDowell had such a small head. No, that's for later. No, the reason I'm up here is about 3 or 4 months ago, well more than that, around the 1st of March or so, I found the email of a really good friend of mine from Vietnam. And he's here tonight, Mike Van Hootie. And on April 21st, which is the anniversary of Operation Union, I sent him an email saying I was thinking about him and that I was wondering how he was doing. I hadn't seen or heard from him for 46 years. And he told me he was doing fine, and we exchanged a couple emails, and I asked him if he had ever got his medal. And he was kind of dumbfounded, and he said, well, I got a Purple Heart, if that's what you mean. And I said, no, I mean a real medal like a Silver Star or even better. And he said, I have never got anything like that, never expected anything like that. And he said, to tell you the truth, cowboy, he said, I can't remember anything about that day. Just a flash here or a flash there. And he said, that's always bothered me. He said, for 46 years, we all know how long a time that is, 46 years, he's been carrying around the baggage, and he used the word, he said, I thought I may have been a coward. He said, I thought that I may have not lived up to my expectations as a Marine Corps squad leader. And I was dumbfounded. And I said, Mike, it's exactly the opposite. Your actions were heroic. They deserved a medal. And when I was there, I remember saying to people that he should have got a medal. But as we know, every officer in my company was hit that day. There were no officers that were around. He was the squad leader, and he wasn't about to put himself up for a medal. Even if he wouldn't have got wounded, he got wounded and medevac. And we all know that as combat goes on, the pressing issues of the moment are what takes precedence. And I really believe his actions fell through the cracks. So when I got off talking with him, I said, you know, I got to do something about this if I can. So I called Brian Strasser, Snooks. You all know him, or most of you do. And I said, do you know anybody besides you and myself that might remember what Mike did that day? And he said, get a hold of Donnie Smith and John Mark. So I got a hold of them, and they remembered what he did. And I said, would you be willing to write a statement that we can send in and try to rectify this mistake? And they said, you're damn right, we'll write anything you want us to write. And I didn't know how to go about recommending somebody for a medal, so I got a hold of Jim Lepori, and he got me in touch with Bill Wood. And between the two of them and me, and we worked and worked and worked, and we ended up getting a packet about this thick that we have since sent off to Congresswoman Sanchez's office. We sent it to the Marine Corps, and right now, at this present date, we are in the process of recommending Mike Van Hootie for a Navy Cross. If I could continue on, I'd like to read the citation that I started one, and then I sent it to Jim, and he had the experience of getting one of his Marines a Silver Star not too long ago, so he knew the ropes, and I sent him my rough draft, and he made suggestions and corrections and between us. So this is the citation that is in the packet. I want everybody to understand that you know how things work. We're going for a Navy Cross that may not be approved. I want that understood. But I'm fully confident that there's going to be some medal, and I really hope and pray that it's the Navy Cross, because that's what you deserve. That's what you earn. Now let me read it. I better get out the proposed citation. The President of the United States takes pleasure in presenting the Navy Cross to Michael Van Hootie, Lance Corporal, United States Marine Corps, for service is set forth in the following citation: for conspicuous gallantry and intrepidity in action while serving as a rifle squad leader with M Company, 3rd Battalion, 1st Marine Regiment, 1st Marine Division in the Republic of Vietnam. On 21 April 1967, Lance Corporal Van Hootie's unit was participating in Operation Union and was heli-lifted into a landing zone in the Quezon Valley to reinforce and aid another Marine unit which had become engaged with and was taking heavy casualties from a numerically larger North Vietnamese Army force, estimated to be a reinforced battalion. The helicopter LZ was blanketed by enemy machine gun, rocket, and mortar fire. Several M Company Marines were killed and wounded by the intense enemy fire even as they exited the helicopters. Lance Corporal Van Hootie immediately took charge of the squad and led it to a cover position off the LZ from which it could place effective fire on enemy positions located in a tree line on the opposite side of a dry rice paddy. As the battle progressed, a failed assault on the enemy positions had resulted in heavy Marine casualties, several of whom were still lying wounded and helpless in front of the enemy positions. Lance Corporal Van Hootie instantly realized that despite the mortal danger involved, that those wounded and helpless Marines had to be immediately rescued, or they would die of their wounds or eventually be killed by enemy gunners and snipers. Taking command of the situation, he ordered the squad to provide a base of suppressive fire. He then left his cover position and, giving no thought to his own safety, fearlessly ran out into and across the fire-swept paddy directly in front of the enemy guns, grabbed a wounded Marine and dragged him to safety. Taking no time to rest, he ran again back across the paddy and successfully dragged 3 more wounded Marines to safety, all the while under increasingly heavy enemy fire. Lance Corporal Van Hoody's immediate, fearless, and courageous actions undoubtedly saved the lives of those 4 wounded Marines. He continued to effectively and professionally lead his squad the remainder of the battle until the night. While preparing his squad for a night attack, he was wounded during an enemy mortar barrage and medically evacuated. Lance Corporal Van Hoody's selfless and courageous actions and fortitude in the face of extreme danger and unfaltering dedication to duty were in keeping with the highest traditions of the United States Marine Corps and Naval Service.
Nice to meet you. Like Gail.
Mike, let me lend my personal best wishes for you. Hear me now? Okay? You're like me, Mike, you need a new hearing aid. Anyway, I have gone through this process before for Danny Hernandez Silver Star. It'd probably be a couple more months, okay? Always a possibility that the awards branch of the United States Marine Corps may downgrade it, but we pulled every string we could to aim this thing and focus it on the Navy Cross. And I'll tell you, the day it's approved, man, I'm going to come over to your place and we're going to celebrate a little bit. That concludes the formal portion of our 2013 reunion. However, the doors will remain open until 11 p.m. tonight. Jim Pfeffer, Puff, has an extensive collection of oldies but goodies from our early 50s and 60s, and he's going to play them tonight. And we'd like for you to listen to them. And also, if you so desire, we're going to move some of these tables out, so if you want to do a little dancing, you can do that. Okay.
But I ain't playing.
Before I conclude these closing remarks, I want to wish all of you a safe return to your homes. I guess there's no easy and painless way to say goodbye. So until we meet again, as the Irish say, and this is not the complete saying, but it's may the sun always shine upon you, may the wind always be at your back. Farewell.
Thank you.